Hello friends, long time no see. I guess if you follow me on Instagram, you've been seeing my posts, but I haven't posted on YouTube in probably, gosh, I want to say over a year. So it is long overdue that I get back into the YouTube swing of things, and what better way than to talk about how I healed my cycle, got my period back, started ovulating again, cleared my skin, grew my hair, yada yada yada. If you don't follow me on Instagram, then you're probably like, what the heck you're talking about? So we'll start with a little bit of backstory into the last year and a half of my life, because oh boy, it has been crazy. In December of, when did I get married? 2022. So I ended up getting pregnant shortly after my wedding. I want to say probably in November. I got married in October. It was completely unplanned. I was still using natural cycles at the time, but it was right when I switched over to the Aura ring, which I'm not wearing right now. I had a whole video talking about natural cycles and how much I loved it. I don't think the Aura ring is as effective. I don't know what happened. I don't know if I missed checking the app, if I don't know what happened. I did not intend to get pregnant. Found out that I was pregnant, very quickly realized it was ectopic. We monitored it for a little bit just to see like what was going on, because I knew that I was pregnant before I had even missed my period. I'm very in tune with my body. I've always seen women talk about this where they're like, I just knew. And I was like, how do you, like, how? No, trust me, you know. Like, you will just know. And I knew it before I even missed my period. I was like, I think I'm pregnant, I'm gonna take a test. I think I went into the doctor around 4 weeks pregnant. There was nothing on the ultrasound, even though my P test was coming out positive. The doctor was like, you know what, you're so early. We're gonna just keep doing blood work and we're just gonna kind of wait and see. I wanna say I was in the hospital every 24 hours for 2 weeks doing blood work, and my levels were not rising, but they weren't dropping. They were kind of at this weird stagnation point, and still nothing was showing up on my ultrasound. So they were like, you know what, this is probably ectopic. And so we did 2 rounds of methotrexate injections to terminate the pregnancy. I'm giving you guys way too much fucking information. I gotta reel it back. And basically I had an ectopic pregnancy in December of 2022. Did methotrexate injections for that. And since then, my fertility, my period, my cycle, whatever you want to call it, has been completely out of whack. It took me, I want to say, 2 months before I got my period back after that. I was ovulating and it still was pretty regular. Like, it was consistently 33 days. I would say maybe once or twice a year I would get like an ovulatory 45-day cycle, and I always kind of chalked that up to like, I was probably just stressed, whatever. So I didn't think too much of it until May of 2023. I completely lost my period. So I was supposed to bleed in May, didn't have my period, was like, oh shit, am I pregnant again? Took a pregnancy test, I was not pregnant. I was like, okay, maybe I'm just late. I ended up just not having a period until September or October. I should probably look this up on my tracker app, but it was, I want to say it was like 4 or 5 months that I just went with nothing. No period. I still tracked my temperature. I had no ovulation spikes. I had no cervical discharge. It was like the Sahara freaking desert down there. It felt like I was in my luteal phase 4 months. It was awful. My mental health was awful. Just was not bleeding. Tried to go to some doctors and was like, hey, I'm like not bleeding. And they were like, well, are you trying to have kids right now? And I was like, no. And they're like, so why do you care? Like, shouldn't you be glad? Like, you don't have a period. That's every girl's dream. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, a regular period is the sign of a healthy woman. So anyways, right around that time, I was like, whatever this is, it's affecting my mental health so much. On top of some stuff that was happening at work and in my personal life, I just kind of hit a breaking point. So I took 2 months of mental health leave off work and was like, all right, I have to go balls to the wall and figure out what the heck is wrong with my health right now, because clearly something's up. And right around that time, I got an email from the company that I was working at that they were starting to sponsor through like the company healthcare fertility testing. Sweet, let me go do some of this. It's free, it's covered. Like, let me just see what they say, because clearly I'm not having a period, I'm not ovulating, like something's up. So I went to them, did some blood work with that clinic, did some ultrasounds with that clinic, and got diagnosed with PCOS based on my anti-Müllerian levels and the way that my ovaries looked, coupled with the fact that I was just not ovulating and not having a period. If you're curious about the numbers, my anti-Müllerian was 7 and I had a follicle count of 36. To my understanding and what they told me was that an AMH over 4 is high, and a follicle count over, I want to say like 12 was high. I had never heard about PCOS in my life, so I was kind of just like, it was definitely this huge shock. Like immediately I was just sobbing on the phone with the doctor, and I was just like, what does this mean? Am I going to be able to have kids? Am I going to be on medication for life? Do I need surgery? Like I had no idea what it meant. I was absolutely freaking terrified. Kind of like processed that diagnosis, went to my primary care physician, because remember this was just with a fertility clinic that was sponsored like by my company's insurance. Went to my primary care doctor and was like, hey, I got this diagnosis from a fertility clinic, like here's the blood work they did, here's like, I showed them the pictures of my ultrasound, and they were just like, I think they literally, the doctor literally goes, you look fine to me, I mean you're not overweight or anything. And I'm like, okay. Like I literally sat there and looked at her and I was like, are you, like what? Like why does one doctor tell me I have PCOS, but you're telling me just because I'm not overweight I look fine? I was like, I don't understand. And she was like, well, people with PCOS usually have trouble with weight gain, but also I'm really active. Like I'm the whole fitness girl thing. Like maybe my activity level is just like masking those symptoms. Like I'd love if you could run some more blood work. Like I know that there's some more hormones, you know, like your testosterone, like other like androgens, or like I would just love some follow-up just to like confirm that I don't have PCOS, if that's what you're saying. She was just like, no, I'm not gonna do that. And I was like, I'll literally pay for it, like I'm asking. She was just like, no, like I think you're fine. If you're worried about having a regular cycle, I can give you birth control. Ma'am, I'm like in tears at this point at the doctor. I was like, I want to be fertile. Like I want to have a regular cycle. I want to be ovulating. And she was like, oh, you're trying to have kids? And I was like, no. She goes, I don't know why you care. I shit you not, I walk out of this doctor's office sobbing, storm out. A nurse comes and gets me in the parking lot and is like, hey, we have another OB that like saw this situation and wants to talk to you. So I go back inside, gather myself. I talk to this other OB. She's a little bit nicer, but kind of the same thing, where she's just like, in nicer terms, was just like, I don't really know why you care. She was like, oh, you're only at 4 months of not having your period. Like if you hit 6 months, come back and let us know. Or if you decide that you want to start trying and you're having trouble trying, then we can look into things. And I'm like, why do I have to be trying to have a baby for my health to be taken seriously? That's my biggest freaking issue with modern medicine, is that I feel like as a woman, a lot of times we are just reduced to child bearers, and that unless we are mothers or pregnant or trying to conceive, our worth is just invalidated. So that whole situation, I got extremely burnt out and frustrated and disappointed with Western medicine. Completely gave up. That's kind of the whole backstory. At the same time, my sister started working for an acupuncturist, and I started traditional medicine and trying to heal my hormones and my cycle and everything holistically. I feel like I just rambled a lot, so I just want to do like a TLDR recap of like background before I get into everything I did to re-regulate. So lost my period in May, didn't bleed for like 4 or 5 months. We had the ectopic pregnancy, the PCOS diagnosis, the lack of period. So that's kind of like my backstory. I'm still a little sus about the PCOS diagnosis, because I know from hearing other women's stories that a lot of them have been diagnosed a lot younger, or even if they did get diagnosed later in their 20s, it was something they've been struggling with since their teenage years to get diagnosed. So I've only been struggling with this for the last like 1.5 years. That's why I'm still a little like, take everything I say with a grain of salt. I do have a formal PCOS diagnosis, and I did get, which I'll talk about later, a secondary PCOS like confirmation of diagnosis. So I've had 2 doctors tell me I have PCOS. Again, take all that what you will. I don't have the weight gain, I don't have the excess hair, so it's a little, I don't know. I don't know. But let's go ahead and get into everything I've done holistically, functional medicine wise, like every single thing that I've done to try and heal my cycle, heal my body, balance my hormones. And so far it's been working. As I sit here filming this right now, I just finished my period, I think like last week, and my last 2 cycles were both 32-day cycles, and I ovulated on day 18, both times, which is really, really reassuring because that's showing like that repetibility, that like clockworkness of a cycle to ovulate on the exact same day, to have the same length of cycle. Also, my periods have been like a dream, like minimal cramping, minimal moodiness, minimal pain. Rambling a lot. Without further ado, let me start the second half of this story, which is everything I did to heal my hormones. My sister started working at an acupuncture clinic and she was like, hey, you should come in. We've got a lot of women that kind of deal with the same things, and we have a doctor here that specializes in PCOS. You should go see her. So I started doing Chinese medicine, which is very similar to acupuncture, but it's a little bit more medicine, and you do more of like a regimen versus just going in and getting poked with needles and being sent home. So you still sit down and you're like, talk with the doctor, you go over your symptoms. They do acupuncture, and then you get put, depending on, you know, what you got going on like a herbal supplement that you take twice a day. And then on top of that, like a special tea that I was drinking. And then I was taking these herbs, like mixing them with hot water every morning and every night. They put me on like a completely new diet. So kind of like the, I might say this word wrong, Ayurvedic diet, but like a warming regimen. So I completely stopped drinking cold water. I used to fill my Stanley cup and I'd pop like 3 or 4 ice cubes in there. Warm water. I would do half a Stanley cup with water from my fridge and half a Stanley cup full of boiling water from my kettle so that it was warm. I only drank warm liquids. I completely stopped drinking like lemonade or like Spindrift. Like I was literally only drinking warm water and tea. I wasn't really eating dairy, but that was another thing they told me not to do, was no dairy. They said no cooling fruits, which is like watermelon, pear, cantaloupe, etc., which I don't eat a ton of anyways. And they said berries were okay, but like not a lot of fruits. They said no raw veggies, like always cook your veggies, lots of like soups, lots of really garlicky, oniony, spicy things. So I was eating lots of chili, lots of homemade soups, lots of like just meat with like cooked spiced vegetables, lots of rice. That's kind of like the diet I put myself on, and was making sure just to like really avoid cold foods and cold liquids like above all else. And so I actually ended up getting my period back September or October, and that was the first time I saw a period. And then after that period, and I don't think it was ovulation, I think it was just like I finally bled after not bleeding for so long. And then my first time ovulating, the really cool thing was I finally saw ovulation. Cool thing is, so I track my temperature. Every time I ovulate, my temperature will increase from my baseline, maybe like a degree, 0.8 degrees. When I did Chinese medicine, where this whole regimen they put me on was like a warming regimen, my temperature spikes during ovulation were like 1.5 to 2 degrees higher, which is absolutely crazy. I do think Chinese medicine did help me get like a period back, but it just wasn't packing the punch that I wanted it to. I did Chinese medicine for probably 3 or 4 months, and I was seeing, I don't want to say regular period, but I was having my period, but it would be anywhere from 60 days, 40 days, 28 days, 35 days. Sometimes I'd ovulate, sometimes I wouldn't ovulate. Obviously with like the 40+ days, I was not ovulating in those ones. So it was still all over the freaking place. At least I was still bleeding somewhat regularly, but I wasn't ovulating. It wasn't cyclical. It was still all over the place. I still felt like sick. I felt out of whack. And it feels like you're in your freaking luteal phase 24/7. Like you're just grumpy, like it's dry down there. My boobs hurt all the time. I was just, everything sucked. I had headaches. Like I was just like, all right, okay, at least I'm like getting a period, but this is still not cutting it. So I took things into my own hands, started doing a lot of research. I will try to link as many articles, YouTube videos as I can go back and find in the description, but I'm just gonna say right off the bat, like, what is it? It's May. This was like 6 months to a year ago, so I'm not gonna be able to find everything. But I started doing a lot of my own research and talking more with like other women that have PCOS and kind of seeing like what helps them. A lot of women with PCOS tend to have like higher testosterone or higher like male hormones, and something that can aggravate that is lifting heavy. I was a competitive weightlifter. I was lifting like 200+ pounds. I used to squat for reps of 5 like 240. Absolutely insane. Like I was just lifting so fucking heavy and so intensely like 5 to 6 days a week that I was just like, I have to pull this back. I can still exercise and like stay healthy and fit without putting like that much fucking strain on my body. So that is, other than the like Chinese medicine piece, which I'm not doing anymore, that is one of the things that I have pulled back on. I do not lift heavy. Heavy is relative. I don't lift heavy for me anymore. When I am in the gym, I never take my squats over 135, and I'm often squatting just with like 10s or maybe 25s on the bar. So I've literally like more than halved the amount of weight that I'm lifting. I'm doing upper body stuff, I'll stay around the 10-pound range instead of like I was pressing 40s and 50s before. I'll keep it on like 10-15 pounds, and I've upped the reps so that I still feel challenged, but I'm not gaining strength or muscle by any means right now, but I think that is helping. I've also started incorporating more cardio, short distance cardio, because I've also read that like longer distance running and endurance running can raise your cortisol and also kind of like mess with those already high male hormones. So I always try to keep it within half an hour or less. And most of the time I'm just doing like a 10-minute run to warm up, and then I'll do some stretching or body weight stuff. I also started Taekwondo, which has been great because that's kind of like a HIIT style workout. So completely changed up my style of working out. I went from lifting super fucking heavy 5 days a week for like 2 hours a day to now I'm only lifting twice a week. I'm doing Taekwondo twice a week, and I'm running like once or twice a week, and it's just a lot less intense, a lot less heavy. So other than exercise, I also have started messing with my diet a lot more. Obviously through Chinese medicine, they kind of put me on this warming regimen. On top of that, I just started cooking like all my own fucking food because I was like, you know what? I don't know what's going on, but I just want to be able to control everything I'm putting in my body. So I got really into bread baking, which has been super fun, but I've been making all my own bread, and then on top of that, making all my own pasta, making all my own tortillas, like as much as I can possibly make myself in the form of like carbohydrates, I am trying to make myself. Cut out all seed oils. I've cut out no, I'm not gonna say that because I still eat Ben & Jerry's. I was gonna say I've cut out added sugar. That's a fucking lie. I've cut out added sugar in like my main diet. Like I do go out of my way to find things that don't have added sugar in them. So for example, like peanut butter, I'll go out of my way to buy the peanut butter where the only ingredient is peanuts versus palm oil, the sugar, whatever. So I do try to buy things in their most base ingredient possible, but like I'm just a girl. I fucking love my Ben & Jerry's, my fish food. That's the thing that I've learned through this whole process, is that stress is gonna affect you so much more than anything else you're doing. So if you are so restrictive, so fucking mental and paranoid and like neurotic about your routine being perfect, girl, that's harming you more than just living like this 80-20 lifestyle. So like I still have my Ben & Jerry's now and then because it makes me happy and it keeps me from being like a crazy person feeling like all I eat is healthy food. But I do eat very healthy, like I said. And healthy is relative. I'd say I eat very clean. Buying a lot of just like meats, spending the money for the like organic, grass-fed, free-range, pasture-raised, like whatever kind of stuff. Whole Foods is really awesome because at the top of their like butcher section, there it has like the, I think it's ASPCA, like the animal welfare tag, like literally says the quality of the animal's life. And I think all of the, at least beef at Whole Foods is a 4 out of 5. You go to Kroger or something, they don't even get a sticker. They don't even get a 1. So I tried to do that with my meat, and then same with my produce. I try to buy organic produce. I've been washing my produce more. Maybe this is like a red flag, but I never used to wash produce. I don't know, I'd be like, I'm cooking it, I don't need to wash it. But I've actually started like washing the exterior of produce just in case there's any weird shit on it. So that's another thing I'm doing. On top of cooking, I have made a lot of swaps to try and get as many microplastics out of my diet as possible. I swapped my plastic cutting boards for wood cutting boards. I've swapped my plastic and silicone cooking utensils for bamboo and metal cooking utensils. I swapped all my Tupperware. I used to just save like the to-go or the DoorDash stuff and use that as Tupperware. I've completely thrown that out and I've gotten glass Tupperware. I got rid of my silicone Stanley straws and I swapped those for glass Stanley straws. So like as much as possible that I can get plastic out of my diet, I've been trying to do that. I stopped getting my produce from Trader Joe's because Trader Joe's is so affordable, but they wrap every fucking thing in plastic. So I've stopped getting my produce from Trader Joe's, getting it from Whole Foods now. I don't put it into the green bags. I just throw it right in my cart. So yeah, trying to be really intentional about plastics. Obviously, like the clothes that you wear are synthetic, like it's never gonna be perfect, but again, doing the little bits that feel good, that feel realistic is going to be way more helpful than trying to be perfect and stressing yourself out about it. So whatever works for you is what's going to work best. As far as clothing goes though, I have stopped wearing like leggings as much. Obviously I wear leggings when I go to the gym, but I used to do like, I would just throw on leggings throughout the day and then I'd like rot in my leggings all day, go to the gym, sweat, and then just like stay in my leggings until the evening when I would shower or put my PJs on. I have stopped wearing as tight of clothing. I've also stopped wearing like thongs. I still wear them every once in a while, like if I'm in like a tight pair of jeans or whatever, but I stopped wearing underwear to the gym and now I just wear leggings or shorts, so I go commando. Obviously I wear like a lot more dresses, and when I'm wearing my dresses I wear like fucking granny panties. I wear like loose cotton boy short or cheeky granny panties, and then when I'm at home I try to like not wear underwear as much as possible. So if I'm just throwing sweats on, PJs on, whatever, I try to not wear underwear to really just like let her breathe. I started sleeping naked. I used to sleep in boy shorts with a big t-shirt or just in like my underwear with nothing else, but I would always wear underwear to bed. I'm just like butt fucking naked now. Really just trying to like let her breathe, let my body breathe. What else have I done? I think I wrote a list. Let me look this up. Okay, yeah, I got air purifiers as well. I got one for my bedroom, and I got like, my parents are a little, not conspiracy theory, but like preppers slightly. Love my parents, but they bought like hospital operating room grade air purifiers during COVID, and now they're like, we don't need them anymore. So they gave me one of their like crazy good air purifiers. I have that in my living room, and then I have just another like regular one that I bought in the bedroom. Haven't done this yet, but I'm getting a reverse osmosis, 6-stage reverse osmosis water filter with UV sanitization. Just again, really trying to get as many toxins out of my environment, out of my lifestyle, out of my diet as possible. I swapped my Tide laundry detergent for like, it does have fragrance, it's essential oils. Again, to each their own, say what you will, it's what's sustainable for you, but it is like a completely plant-based detergent versus Tide. And I stopped using like fabric softener and stuff like that, so now I just use the plant-based like lavender essential oil detergent instead. I'm still using my like Cascade dish pods because I hate when the dishes come out gross, and I am not gonna touch a wet sponge. But as much as I can that feels like good for me, I'm trying to cut out toxins. Okay, so we've kind of talked about diet, we've talked about like the kitchen stuff, environment stuff. Sleep is another huge thing that I think like a lot of women severely underestimate how much sleep they need. We're always told like 7 to 8 hours is fine. And I hear women that are like, yeah, I get 5 to 6. It's not great. Women need like 10 plus hours of sleep. Like, I don't think you guys realize that. Like, men need 8. Women need like 10 hours, and if you're on your period or in your luteal phase, you probably need more like 11 to 12 hours, or at least 10 hours with like naps throughout the day. So that's a really big thing I changed. Again, I'm like so privileged to be able to, because I am not working anymore. I did quit my job, but I'm sleeping 10 plus hours a night. I try to get like 11 and a half if I can. Really trying to get as much sleep as I can, because I think that is so important, not only just to like be healthy, but especially if you're a woman that is currently in a state of dysregulation. I think sleep is so important. If you're already in a good status quo, you know, get undersleeping here and there is probably not going to hurt you. But if you're trying to heal yourself, not only do you need to get enough sleep, but you probably need more, because your body's going to be on overdrive trying to get you back to a healthy spot. So sleep is huge. Not just the amount of time you're sleeping, but the quality of your sleep. This was before everything happened, but I've cut out alcohol. I cut out caffeine as much as I can. I will every now and then have a coffee if I like really don't sleep good, but I have not had an energy drink in over a year. I have not done caffeinated pre-workout in over a year in August that I've been completely sober from alcohol. That has helped my sleep so much. It's helped me fall asleep more naturally, stay asleep through the night, wake up and feel more refreshed, not have like anxious nighttime thoughts. For me, my anxiety presents itself a lot before bed, and cutting the caffeine has helped that tremendously. The cardio that I've been doing, like I said, I started incorporating short distance and short time runs. My resting heart rate was in the, I want to say like the fucking mid 80s at night, which is insane. Like, it would be between like 75 and like 90, and since I've started running and quit my job and like really just like trying to chill the fuck out, my resting heart rate is now between like 45 and 55, which is just amazing. So again, quality of the sleep, I'm trying to keep my like heart rate variability higher. Also, to improve sleep, really trying to like read before bed instead of being on my phone. A lot of time my husband and I will be like, we're watching Game of Thrones right now, so good, but we'll have an episode end and it'll be like 7:20, and we're like, oh, it's only 7:20, like let's start the next one, and really having to catch ourselves and be like, nope, because if we start this, it's gonna be too late by the time we want to go to bed. Like, let's start going to bed now. We can just read a little bit extra if we have time. So really trying to be strict with not only phone screen time, but TV screen time, and really just trying to like slow ourselves down and zen ourselves out as much as possible as we can, like the half hour before bedtime. I find that when I'm on my phone later at night, especially on Instagram or like TikTok, I just have TikTok sounds in my head, or like ideas of like, ooh, I should make that reel, and then I want to roll over and like type my reel idea down. So I just really try to stay off my phone. Yeah, that's like everything I've done to try and manage sleep, but sleep is so important. If you're gonna change one thing before you spend your money on supplements, before you go changing all your kitchen stuff, before you start buy organic produce, before you like start paying for acupuncture, before you start doing all these crazy things, get your sleep in control. Get your caffeine intake down, stop drinking alcohol, stop smoking weed if you do that before bed. Get your sleep in a spot where naturally you can sleep through the night, and that you can sleep for like 10 hours a night. You should not have to take melatonin. It's gonna take probably a few weeks, but do whatever you can to get your sleep in a spot where naturally you're falling asleep, you're staying asleep, and you're getting like 10 hours of sleep a night, because I swear that is going to change your life. Supplements, I went and got like my deficiencies tested. I was deficient for B12 and D3, so I take B12 and D3 every single day. I've been taking 5,000 IU of D3 and 125 micrograms of B12 every day. You know, when I started taking choline, my cycles just got even shorter from like the 50-60 day thing. Again, I'm changing a lot, so it's hard to say like this is the solution, but I did feel like I saw a difference with choline. Also started incorporating more fish oil, omega-3s. Beam's Natural Beauty Supplement, again, hard to say because I started healing my hormones right around the time they came out with it and I started taking it, but I have a little bit of makeup on right now. My skin is the best it's ever been, and it started clearing up right when I started taking that supplement. So I really do think that that natural beauty supplement did have a lot to do with my clear skin, especially just the brightness of my skin. I noticed my skin feels less dry. My hair's literally growing back in. Like, I used to be literally like balding up in here, and all this is new growth that is like growing back in my hairline. You're not gonna believe this. Look at this little guy. He's always right by me. But yes, so the supplements that I'm currently taking every day right now, I take methylated folate, not folic acid, but methylated folate. I take the B12, the D3, choline, omega-3s. I'm taking CoQ10, I think that's how you say it. The Natural Beauty, I think that's everything I'm taking. I take those every single freaking day. Okay, I'm gonna just go ahead and dive into the questions that you guys asked me, because I want to make sure I touch on everything you guys are curious about. First one, did you ever have abnormal body hair growth? I did not. Like I said, I didn't get the body hair growth. I didn't get the weight gain. That's why I'm still a little sus about PCOS, but I did have long periods of anovulation, irregular cycles, the high follicle count, and the high AMH, which was what I got my diagnosis from. Stress reduction tips. Quit your job. I know that's not sustainable for a lot of people, but for me personally, quitting my job has been huge because it's given me the freedom to sleep in and get enough sleep. If I'm higher energy, I can spend time in the sunshine, I can spend time outside, I can spend time walking. Like, on top of that, reading, trying to control my screen time, finding really good outlets for getting in that like zen flow state. I find that I'm always like go in my head. I'm always, it's like a fucking, Sylvia and I call it my tornado brain. So anything I can do that just kind of like streamlines my thoughts, gets me in this zen mode, gets me hyper focused on one thing. For me, painting does that, reading does that. That is huge for my stress relief. So find a hobby that you can just like fucking hyper fixate on and like let the rest of the world drown away. Also, really good sleep is important, and just cutting out stuff that makes you stressed. I know quitting your job is like not going to be possible for most people, but if your job is a source of stress, maybe think about getting a new job, or talk to your boss and see if you can cut back your hours if that's financially sustainable for you. But yeah, those are my best stress reduction tips. Get a dog, pet more dogs. I have 3 dogs. I don't know, that might be a lie. They're stressful sometimes. Okay, main symptoms that I had PCOS, I already talked about that. It was the anovulation, the follicle count, and the AMH. What, if any, hormone tests you took and how you targeted specific hormones? Okay, so backing up, as I'm changing all this stuff, I did go get my hormones tested. Finally found a doctor that would test my hormones, and I got like a full panel tested. I'll see if I can look it up. Everything for the most part was normal, but I got, again, this was after I'd already had like 2 regular cycles, so I had already seen all the signs of my hormones normalizing, so I wasn't expecting anything extreme because I didn't get my full hormones tested in the height of like my irregularities. but everything was normal. My estrogen is low-ish. I haven't specifically started doing anything for my estrogen. I think I'm really hoping that as I just kind of keep doing what I'm doing, since I am seeing progress, I will just keep seeing progress. At this point, now that I've had 2 regular ovulatory cycles, I don't want to like add any more crazy things. But I also started going to my chiropractor. I don't know how I missed this. Oh my gosh. But this is like crazy, you guys. So like I said in the beginning of this video, I had a regular cycle like most of my childhood and for 4 years after getting off the pill, before all of this happened. And right around the time all this happened, I was getting married, I was on my honeymoon. I just stopped seeing my chiropractor because it was like I got married, I was on my honeymoon, and then I had an ectopic pregnancy, and my life just went crazy, and I was like, I need to cut as much stress out of my life and as many appointments out of my life as possible. So I didn't see my chiropractor for a year. I did get diagnosed with scoliosis when I was 13. I went back to my chiropractor because it had been so long. They're like, let's redo your x-rays, let's redo your scans. And I saw a new doctor who's a woman, and she literally, I didn't tell her any of this. She knew nothing of my fertility, nothing of my cycle struggles. All she knew was like I had previously had scoliosis and I was just coming back in to get my back checked up. She looks at my lower back and she goes, do you struggle with your periods? I was like, bitch, what? I was like, what? Like I literally stuttered. I was like, huh? She was like, what? And I was like, what? She's like, do you have irregular cycles? Because your lower back, like your scans, it looks like you have some pinched nerves, and like it looks like the back of women I see that have issues with fertility and irregular cycles. And I was just like, what the fuck? How'd you know that? She said that there is, I'll see if I can put a picture, there's like branches of nerves that come off your spine that then like go out into thousands of other connections. And there is a pelvic nerve that connects to your lumbar vertebrae that, based on how I had like the subluxations, I think that's the right word, in my lower back, that pelvic nerve was being pinched. And she was like, yeah, it makes sense that your like ovaries and your uterus isn't working properly, because if that nerve's pinched, it's not gonna get the like rightful signals from your brain. That makes so much sense to me. Obviously I don't have like a fucking neuroscience background, but like that makes so much sense to me. Right around the time that I started seeing this chiropractor regularly is also right around the time that I had those 2 very cyclical cycles back to back. So I really think chiropractic care for me might have been like the nail on the head with this one. Ever since going back to chiropractor, like I'm feeling better. I feel like me again. I don't feel like I'm in this perpetual luteal phase. My libido's up. I'm like moist down there again. Sorry, that was a horrible word to use. Whatever, I'm turned on. I have a high libido. I feel like me again. I got some pep in my step. I'm ovulating. My cycles are like back in a 32-day thing. So yeah, I can't believe I almost like didn't tell you guys that. What the heck is wrong with me? So like I said, with the low estrogen, I'm not doing anything right now just because I am seeing a cyclical cycle. So as long as that stays cyclical, I'm gonna be okay. Someone said, is there any hope for pregnancy? I hope so. I don't know, because the only time I've ever been pregnant, it was ectopic. I still feel a lot of fear around getting pregnant. Everything that I've been doing, like I told my functional medicine doctor, I was like, I want to do everything I can in my power so that when my husband and I are ready to have kids, it's something that we can be excited about and not something that we're going into with this like lining of fear of like, oh God, which I am starting to feel a lot more confident about it. You know, all it takes is one time for you ovulating. If you ovulate once a year, obviously that's not ideal, but you just need to ovulate once and time it right to get pregnant. So even though it might be more difficult with PCOS and you might face a lot of challenges, my cousin has PCOS, she has 2 beautiful babies. I have another friend with PCOS, she has a beautiful baby. So it's definitely possible. I would not be worried about it. Just know you might face extra challenges along the way and might have to do a little bit extra along the way in order to conceive a healthy baby. Is it true if you work out too much, puts too much stress on the body, makes PCOS worse? Yes and no. It's not necessarily working out too much. Again, this is super individualistic. For me, it was the like intensity, not so much the amount I was working out. I still work out like 5 days a week, but I've swapped the super heavy lifting for the HIIT taekwondo and walking and running and lighter weightlifting. So yes, if you're doing like really intense exercise, then yes, I think it can make your PCOS worse, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't exercise. Like exercise in general is going to be better for you than not doing anything at all. Okay, last couple questions here. Someone asked, how do you check your ovulation with test strips or with an app? How do you know when you're not ovulating? So ovulation, there's a couple different markers. I track my temperature every single day. When you ovulate, you will see like a temperature spike. Like I said in the beginning, anywhere from like 1 to 2 degrees, you'll see a temperature spike. You'll also notice physical symptoms. Your discharge will go from either like no discharge or kind of like a creamy white discharge to a super sticky, watery, egg white discharge, and like a lot of it. Like sometimes when you wipe, it'll be like slippery. That's a sign of ovulation. For me, my boobs get sore. I get a little nauseous when I'm ovulating. For me, the thing I notice first is the discharge change. I will start taking LH test strips. I just buy a box on Amazon. I have like a bunch of little tiny Dixie cups next to my toilet. I'll pee in a cup, I'll do the test strip. Unlike a pregnancy test, you have to have 2 lines the same darkness for it to be positive. You might notice like the second line is really faint. That's still negative. So I'll keep testing until I see 2 lines that are really, really dark, the same darkness, and that's what I call my ovulation day. And usually the next day from that, so like I'll wake up, I'll test, I'll see 2 really dark test strips, I'll go to bed. That night is when I'll notice the basal body temperature spike. That confirms ovulation. So the way I knew I wasn't ovulating, 1, I was dry like the Sahara Desert. I wasn't getting that like follicular ovulatory burst of energy, burst of confidence. I felt like I was PMSing all the time. I was dry down there, and my temperature was not spiking. So for months and months and months, my temperature was low. So the way I use the Aura app and the Ring to track my temperature, it'll give you a baseline, and all my temperatures were low, low, low down here, where when I ovulate, they spike up like this. So that's how I knew I wasn't ovulating. I felt like shit all the time. Ovulating is wonderful because you feel confident and happy and excited, and you're horny, and it's just like, it's amazing. I love ovulating. So if you feel like you're PMSing constantly and you're cranky about everything and everything fucking sucks, and you're dry down there and maybe it gets itchy down there, and like you just hate your fucking life, you might not be ovulating. Okay, anyways, couple more questions, then we're gonna be done here. How did I advocate for myself to be diagnosed? So I didn't have to advocate for myself to get diagnosed. I kind of had the diagnosis thrown at me just when I was trying to be like, I'm not having my period, what's going on? But from there, it was so hard for me to find a doctor that would really hear me out. It wasn't until I left OBGYNs and I actually started seeing a hormone specialist. So on top of the chiropractic medicine I do, I now work with a hormone specialist. She's the one that ran all those panels for me. So I had to leave like the women's health community entirely and go seek out a hormone specialist to be taken seriously. From there, I just made sure that I said what I want. And another really good thing you can do is talk, if they are gonna deny you blood work or deny testing, say, I want that written down in my record. That will very quickly get them to actually give you what you want. Okay, I think that was everything. I'm so sorry that this was very jumbled and chaotic. Hopefully when I edit it, it watches a little nicer. But if you guys have any questions, please leave me a comment down below. DM me on Instagram. I love to talk about this stuff. I want to help women. If you're going through something similar and you've done something that helps you, let me know. I want to try it. Hopefully, if you guys are going through something, hopefully it gets better. I am sending you all my love, and I'll see you in the next one.